Participated. For which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Commissioner. My second all-time favorite movie is Mr. Smith Goes to Washington. And they had a remake of it 2 weeks ago. This time it was Mr. Viserys Goes to Washington. If you haven't noticed it, if you haven't heard, he was the only DOT officer from the state of the United States to appear and participate in it. And he did a fantastic job. Beautiful job. And also we have again, State of Utah shined in WashPro conference with innovation rewards for 2 of the teams. And if I remember right, it was the front runner station located in Vineyard. And we utilized the heat tape to keep the traffic signals snow free. Congratulations to those teams and to Utah also. And finally, our own dear friend got the promotion to be a judge for district court this year. Third. Congratulations, Your Honor. I know I'm not in the 5th district, so I don't have to worry about it, but watch for this space. He does this sheet, it's so often, and he shows up, his name is Luke Crater.
And I'm His Excellency's neighbor too, so I'm in both places.
So please, make sure you remember his face.
Thank you for wearing it.
And for heaven's sake, somebody needs to teach Carlos how to read English. Heather's specific instruction was, we're meeting in Christ, Utah. You want to pick us friends. So please, always read your emails. Let's start our meeting with the introduction. And we're going to go with the commission introduction to my left. Please start. And your name and jurisdictions.
Thank you. I'm Commissioner Rhonda Menlo, and I represent Region 1, which is the northern part of the state. And I live in scenic Garden City, Utah.
Good morning. My name is Natalie Gochner. I represent Region 2, which is Summit, Salt Lake, and Willa County. I love this area of the state. Super happy to be here today. So thank you.
Thank you. Jim Evans. I represent Region 3, which basically, those who don't know, goes from the Utah County area all the way out to where Kevin lives out there, the Wind Basin and the counties in between. So it's an honor to be here with you today in your community.
Lou Kramer, Commissioner at Large. I live in downtown Salt Lake to keep an eye on His Excellency Judge Thurmond. It's a delight to be here, and it's a privilege to serve with you and such great colleagues. Thank you for all you do.
What Lou said, my name is Donna Law. I'm a commissioner at large, so I get to help oversee the whole state's activities. And my home is in Cedar City, home of the Utah Shakespeare Festival, which is now open until October 7th. So please come see us.
Commissioner Kevin Van Tassel, I'm a commissioner at large for the state of Utah. I wish I was back in the Senate so I could be there for Charles's confirmation, but good luck. I know you'll do well. Harry, it's sad to see you leaving us, but we appreciate all you've done.
Well, it ended up being a testimonial meeting anyway, huh?
Yeah.
My name is Nadi Zanadi from sunny St. George. I have the privilege of chairing the commission, and I claim to hold the Utah, not beautiful. Thank you. And let's go with the Utah family. Who wants to start us first?
Lisa Wilson, Deputy Director, Engineering and Operations. Gary Hill, Deputy Director, Planning and Investment.
Ben Hewitt, Program Development. Monty Oliver, Region 4 Director. Kirk Thornock, Region 4 Deputy Director. Campbell Gator, Region 4 Program Manager. Eric Rasband, Region 3 Planner.
Rob White, Region 3 Director.
I'm Bob Helly, I'm STIP Coordinator.
Rob White, Region 1 Director.
Troy Peterson, Operations. Nathan Peterson, Region 2 Deputy Director.
Ivan Martel, Financial Program.
Brad Palmer, Region 2 Program Manager.
Next, Greg Management Engineer.
Eric Field, Program Manager. Charles Solomon, Treasurer, Right Away.
Daniel Cordos,
Daniel Creed, Region 4 District Engineer. Brad Burry, Region 4 Resident Engineer.
Greg Hansel, Region 4 Public.
Stuart Beard on the Region 4 Traffic Operations Engineer.
Peter Asklin with Policy and Legislative Affairs.
Nick Cole, Economic Aviation Development Manager for Aeronautics.
Matt Moss, Director of Aeronautics. Kevin Hansen, Aviation Coalition.
Kevin Kitchen, Utah Region 4 Communications.
Wyatt Rowley, Region 3 Communications.
Nick Elder, Legislative Affairs and Policy.
Gary and
Oh, Carrie Ann Noble, Technology and Innovation. Heather Markle, Commission Assistant.
thank you. And I want to recognize our dear friend and partner from the Federal Highway Association, Ivan Guerrero. And we'll have an opportunity to speak to us later. Thank you. Now move on to the local area presentation. I want to have the county come in or review that first. Okay, but Monty Oliver is from the region director.
Good morning. I just wanted to welcome everybody to beautiful Christ and express our appreciation for the time that you give us here. And had a very enjoyable tour yesterday. Hope that was interesting for you folks. And welcome. Really enjoy you being here. And Cameron Gay is the program manager, is going to provide our local area presentation. Thank you very much.
State your name and your responsibility for the record and speak the mic, please.
Good morning, Commissioner. Cameron Gay, Region 4 Program Manager. It's good to be with you today. Welcome to Price. Much of what we'll cover today, you'll have seen a little bit of yesterday in our tour, so it'll just be a recap. But to start off, to give you a little history of what's been happening here in the Price area over the past 10 years, we have just a quick breakdown here of the funding that you've helped contribute to this area. So in Carbon County area, it's a little over $91.3 million, over 34 different projects.
and in the Emory County area, a little over $85.4 million over 38 different projects. So thank you for the efforts in getting money to the areas that are needed. These projects include a variety of different types of projects. They included things clear from planning to construction and everything in between, from design to concepts and studies. These also included federal, state, and local participation types of projects. Yesterday, you saw the Peerless Port of Entry, a great facility that we've added to this part of the state, and really accomplished a couple of things. One, probably the most important, is safety. As you can imagine, large trucks crossing US 6, waiting in a pattern and trying to cross is an extremely dangerous situation. So by having facilities on both sides of the road, allowed us to, excuse me, have a much safer facility. There's about a $14 million job, a $14 million transportation solutions project in combination with those facilities. We expanded the parking lot, provided buildings on both sides, as well as some inspection bays that allow them to do their work more efficiently and safe for themselves. Next, we had a desire in this area to look at our access management. And so through the Helper area, about a 9-mile section, we studied from the north end of Helper down to Price here. The couple of purposes of this project were first to look at what type of access management needed to happen to safely get locals to the traffic, as well as get the economic element of our transportation industry through the area. And so we looked at a wide variety of options. We looked at things that great intersections, we looked at roundabouts, and we are continuing to look at what interchanges may look like for this area. It's important to note that nothing here has been funded. It's simply been a study up to this point. We've got about $100,000 that we've expended thus far, and we have a little bit to remain to complete this study. But we had great participation from local stakeholders, and we appreciate their input and their willingness to participate in this type of endeavor to try to help understand what their needs are, as well as their transportation needs in the area. You're well aware of the US 6 and 191 intersection. We have an increasing amount of trucks entering and coming into this area. We have about a $5 million project slated to, right now the scope is to install what we call a high T signalized intersection. Free flow traffic coming down the canyon and signalized intersection for left-hand movements onto US 191, onto 6, I apologize, from 191, and then again, the right-hand movement. But we see an increasing amount of trucks happening now. We have roughly, from the oil industry, trucks coming every 5 to 6 minutes to the intersection, with a continued projection to happen over the next several years. You can see that chart there that provides a little bit of an understanding. But this will be a project that we are starting the design phase on right now, and we anticipate to construct this next season. And so this will be operational in the year of 2024. Our Crandall Canyon project is a $4.5 million Big Lake project. We did throw some contingency money to that to help provide a match to an off-site drainage project. The drainage basin, you can see there the pictures on the bottom with the drainage drop structures that we provided to help slow the water down before it comes across the structure. Across US 6 itself, there's a current 9-foot culvert that's there. We'll be replacing that with a 27-foot wide, 9-foot box culvert in an effort to provide risk resiliency to our US 6 corridor. Great partner project here with many of our local agencies here, and provided a great opportunity for us to partner and have a great outcome on this project. Our US 6 Soldier Summit project, as noted yesterday, we've had some fatalities here that are unfortunate, and so we were able to submit for an HSIP project, and we received that to provide some medium concrete barrier along that orange path that you can see there. It's critical to note that this barrier is not going to impact the access points that are there, but will provide additional safety. In addition to that, right now the taper from the passing lane going back down into one lane is right on the initial side of that curve. And so we're going to do some restriping, pull that transition back down into the tangent, so there's not jockeying for position right there at that last moment. In an effort to improve the safety, people will slow down around that curve. So anyway, this project is currently under bid, and we anticipate to be able to construct it this fall. I'd like to give you a little bit of an idea of some of the work that happened in this area. Off to the left, you'll notice the year, the 2023 and 2024 indicate the year of construction. So we have quite a variety of projects on US 6 from Type Fork Bright River to the SR 55 and Wellington along 6, as well as out on I-70 and some parapet repairs on SR 31, along with a rehab up on SR 264 in the middle of the lake. In 2024, we have anticipated a project on US 6 from Tucker to Soldier Summit, from US 191. We'll do a region total rehab project as well as a micro on I-70. So just a little look ahead at the types of projects that we'll see right here in this specific area for our preservation efforts. And we also wanted to highlight just briefly some of the local projects and participations that we've seen in this area. Lone Tree Bridge replacement, State Park State Route project, safe sidewalks there in Huntington, and as well as in Helper, and the second one, Huntington, and then Godwin Valley, 9 Mile State Parks, so we have a great partnership in this area with our locals, and it's great to partner with them and do the best we can with what money is available. So with that, again, welcome to this one part of the state, and thank you.
Thank you. Any questions from Cameron? Good job, thank you.
I'm going to click off this.
The next item on the agenda is public comments. And I think at this time, we're going to have Kevin Kitchen, Region Board Communication Director, to come forward and read the comments from Ricky Brown.
Commission, this is from President Ricky Browning, President of the Utah Petroleum Association, dated June 20, 2023, to the Transportation Commission, as well as Carlos Gutierrez, Executive Director, and Commission Assistant Head of Archival. Dear UDOT Commissioners, leadership, and staff, on behalf of the Utah Petroleum Association and our members, we want to thank the Commission, UDOT leadership, and staff for the responsiveness to the needs of Highway 191 from Duchesne to Carbon County and related transit routes. These roads are critical drivers of the Uinta Basin and central and eastern rural Utah economies and communities. During the March and May programming workshop, the Commission was provided a presentation allocating the $88.5 million provided by the Utah Legislature through Senate Bill 3 to provide critical safety improvements, including pavement preservation, passing lanes, shoulder widening, cattle guards, broadband communication, guardrails, and intersection improvements. These safety improvements continue to be a growing critical need. We've appreciated the opportunity to engage with the Commission and provide updated information as you carry out the challenging work of prioritizing state needs and funding. We offer the following information for your consideration as you finalize your prioritization and programming process. Transit over Highway 191 will continue to multiply over the years ahead. Traditionally, the basin has produced 85,000 barrels of Utah waxy crude per day, and all trucked west to Salt Lake City via Highway 40. Today, the Uinta Basin produces nearly 145,000 barrels per day, with 85,000 barrels per day continuing to be trucked via Highway 40 to Salt Lake, but with an additional 60,000 barrels per day exported to various out-of-state markets. Essentially, all of the export is being trucked via US 191 and then loaded onto the rail in Helper or Price. Over 5 years, starting this year, we expect just the product moving via US 191 to generate more than $300 million to the state of Utah through severance taxes. That does not include the production and dollars that are going to Salt Lake City. That also does not include all the other taxes and fees, property tax, sales tax, income tax, conservation fees, royalties, etc., and stimulation of the broader economic engine through jobs and indirect and induced benefits. Just this fiscal year, 2022 through 23, the 10-month oil and gas severance tax revenue as reported by the Tax Commission is already $92.2 million, a 76.9% year-over-year growth. It is not an understatement to stress that this segment of Highway 191 is a critical economic pathway for the Uinta Basin and the state of Utah. If the $88.5 million improvements were evaluated as an investment, the state would get a return on investment in less than 1 year with considerable additional gain. When UDOT began evaluating the safety and maintenance needs of Highway 191 in 2022, traffic volumes were considerably lower, with half or less of the freight volume currently traveling the route. Even at those lower volumes, UDOT determined that significant improvements were needed to ensure the continued integrity and safety of the road. The freight volume going through US 191 will grow to approximately 75,000 barrels per day by 2024, with continued sustained growth in the years ahead. This rapid growth underlines the need to take prompt action to ensure the corridor's integrity and safety for this critical route's freight, commercial, and community users. The existing rail facilities in Helper and Price, independent of the Uinta Basin Railway project status, can service this growth. Both facilities have expansion plans to accommodate these volumes, and these production investments are separate from the Uinta Basin Railway project progressing. Again, reflecting on the beginning of 2022, the route had 3 trucks an hour, a truck every 21 minutes. Today, we have a truck every 8 to 9 minutes. By this time next year, we'll have a truck every 4 to 5 minutes. Considering that about 2/3 of the shipments occur during the day, this is a truck every 5 to 6 minutes this year and every 2 to 3 minutes next year. This traffic volume is an addition to other commerce, recreation, and tourism travel. Due to the rapidly escalating traffic volume, we greatly appreciate your continued support and attention to respond quickly to this evolution. This growth is critically important to the basin and significant to the state. UPA and its members are proud to provide the fuels that power Utahns' daily lives. We thank you for recognizing this opportunity and ask you to continue prioritizing this need as we advance. Respectfully, Ricky Renko Browning, President, Utah Petroleum Association.
Thank you, Ken. Item number 4 on your agenda is the Federal Highway Report. Ivan Moreno will present that.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. I'm Ivan Barrero, the Division Administrator for the Federal Highway Administration's Utah Division. And thank you again for giving me a couple of minutes to bring my items from the federal side to your attention. I would like, if with your okay, to take a couple of minutes to recognize a very deserving individual. Terry, would you mind coming up? I know you hate this stuff. You have something for you. So, as we all know, Terry will be retiring fairly soon, but we would like to present her with the Administrator's Public Service Award. And I will read this. It is to Terry Newell. It says, for your outstanding leadership and accomplishments in advancing transportation needs, safety, accessibility, and strong partnering with the Federal Highway Administration. And it is signed by our Administrator, Caitlin back. So, you get a big And on a personal note, Terry has been amazing to work with. I met her when she was in Region 2 as the regional director there, and she always has a smile on her face, and it's just been a great person to work with. She's so devoted to her work, and I think the people of Utah should be very appreciative of all of what she's done to make all of our lives so much better. So thank you, Terry. You should have about that. I'm gonna miss it.
Thank you.
And a box to go with.
I'm gonna Steve, if you wanted to.
So now, back to business, okay. Couple of things, I know we got long agendas, I'll try to be quick. We recently, with the expiration of the public health emergency, we've put an end to 3 flexibilities that we had allowed during the COVID emergency during the pandemic. One is the temporary use of right of way for restaurant and retail space. If you remember at the time, we were trying to get people out of the indoor environment more to the outdoors, so we allowed this use of our right of way. And then we were also, at the time, with all the restaurants closing, there was a need to provide, truckers and people traveling services like food. So we started to allow food trucks on interstate rest areas. And I think it was only one rest area in Utah that actually took us up on that offer. But anyway, that's coming to an end. And also we had, and there's a requirement that for our environmental documents that there be public hearings and public meetings. So there was no desire to bring people into private spaces at the time, so we allowed for virtual public involvement. So with the expiration of that health emergency now, those flexibilities are no longer available. Speaking of grants, I think Ben mentioned this yesterday. Utah did receive an ATTAIN award, which stands for Advanced Transportation Technology and Innovation. And basically, this is going to provide $5 million for the Utah Connected Communities effort. It is one of only 8 grants that were awarded this round, and basically it will be used to Utah. If Utah is one of the nation's leader in C2B2X technology, vehicle to everything technology. So this is going to contribute towards that effort. Apparently, they're going to be able to install this technology in 600 traffic signals and 80 vehicles and all that. So I think we money very well spent, and congratulations to Utah for getting that grant. We also got a National Scenic Byway Program awarding almost $250,000 for the Utah Patchwork Parkway interpretive signage and kiosk project. So congratulations on that, and they will be used to install several kiosks out there for more information to the traveling public on that beautiful byway. Let's see. Emergency relief funding. So Federal Highways has an emergency relief program where if there any damage to the highways due to natural events, we can help with those repair costs. The downside, or the unfortunate part, is that we only have $500 million a year nationwide. So you can imagine California alone takes that in 2 months. So basically what we do is we go out, we assess the site, we determine that they're eligible and the amount of repair work, and then let the state go ahead and do the repairs, and then when the money becomes available, we'll pay you back. So as you can see here, we have events from 2021 and even as far back as 2019. So the money is there now, so we've allocated those funds for this year for I'm assuming we'll be reimbursing some of the repairs already. And it's split into 2 parts. The FERFA stands for Emergency Relief Federal Aid, so that's the one that goes to UDOT, and then the other one's Emergency Relief Federal. I'm not sure what the order is, but it's for the federal land. So that goes to the BLA and the Forest Service and the Park Service to do those repairs. Just quickly, a couple of upcoming NORSUD funding opportunities. What they're doing, they're combining two different grants into one, and they're calling it the Reconnecting Community Program and Neighborhood Access and Equity Grants Program, big name, but just for your information. So this will be available fairly soon. They're not out yet, but people can click on that link there and get more information on it. And these are grants intended to help, communities that have been, separated by facilities to help reestablish those connections. And also for some neighborhoods, also like some of the disadvantaged areas to help improve their access. And here's some of the information that basically for the reconnecting communities pilot, we have planning and construction grants for both of the programs, so people can apply for either one, and there's the dollar amounts. We have with the passage of the Inflation Reduction Act, there were 3 transportation programs that were created, grant programs, and we have the Neighborhood Access and Equity Grants Program. We have the Environmental Review and Implementation Funds program, and then the Low Carbon Transportation Materials Grants. So we created this website to help those interested in this program learn more about them and understand what they need to do in order to apply for these programs. So this information is there in that link, and people can go to this website and find more information on these programs. And speaking of grants, just a lot of them, the top portion of this table shows the ones that are already the notice of funding opportunity has been issued and people can apply and the due dates for those applications. And the bottom one shows the 4 other ones that are upcoming. We have the Rural Travel Assistance Program, the Multi Project Discretionary Grants Program, the Thriving Communities Grant Program, and the Community Pilot Program. Whoever is going to pick Ben's job, right? He's going to have their hands full with all these grants. It just seems like every other week we get a whole bunch of it now. So, but so far you have done a pretty good job in their application. It's been very successful. I have in every presentation, basically this I want to thank for people can go and find out everything they want to know about all these grants. So please do go to this site. And a couple of just to finish a couple more things. So August distribution, that is the time of the year when federal highways will look at all the funds that are out there and the ones that haven't been obligated yet and they're in danger of lapsing before the end of the fiscal year. So we figure out what that amount is. This year is going to be $7.3 billion nationwide. And it is a much higher amount than it has been in the past years. So we helped the state plan for this. We made them aware that what their estimated August redistribution amount would be for this year. For Utah, we estimated to be $59 million this year. In an effort to, well, the hope there is that they can start planning ahead and start identifying projects where we put this money forward. So we've been working with Iron and his group over there, and then a lot of people trying to identify as many projects we can, so we can bring in as many funds as we can to the state of Utah. So that is ongoing. And finally, so I want to give some kudos here to a lot of things happen behind the scenes that the people really don't know, and it's great work that people do that in the end ends up really contributing to our state and bringing more funds to the state. What happened was, so as you remember, there was a couple of weeks ago we had the debt ceiling talk, and one of the things that was being used as a negotiating tool was the coronavirus funds. And when the coronavirus, I'm going to call it COVID Relief Act, was passed back, it included money for transportation. The state of Utah actually had $86 million in COVID relief funds to use. And so with the danger of those funds being pulled away or rescinded as a bargaining during the bargaining that was taking place with Congress, between Congress and the administration, we wanted to make sure that we didn't lose any August. So basically on Thursday, we were not aware of this, and I'm sure you that was planning on using the rest of the money. I think at the time we had 86 million, we had obligated 42, so we still have 43 million dollars left to be obligated. But we had till the end of September to get that done. But all of a sudden, this debt didn't come into play, and then it's risk that within a week that money will be gone. So our headquarters let us know on a Thursday afternoon. I got the call. This is how much is out there. You got to work with the state DOT to make sure that money is obligated, so they don't lose it. So that was Thursday afternoon. This was the Thursday before the Memorial Day weekend. So as you imagine, a lot of people were maybe not around. We made you that aware of this, and basically, I don't know. I think you were out of town. I'm not sure where you were, but I know you were probably on vacation. But Ivan and Kim Robbins, Ben, they worked their magic, and so by Wednesday, basically, we had all $43 million obligated, every single penny. So, but those are the things that have gone behind the scenes, and people really don't understand that these people, I'm sure they sacrificed some of their holiday time and all of that over the weekend to come up with those projects. And I'm sure the MPOs were involved in that, the regional directors and the program managers, and just coming up with those projects. I do want to express my appreciation for the excellent work they did on that. So with that, I think I'm done. I'd like to answer any questions you may have for me.
Just on behalf of the commission and we would like to appreciate you and Regine for wonderful service and the way you treat us, just giving updates and the heads up. You're really great.
My pleasure. You guys make my job very easy.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ivan.
Next item will be UDOT scoreboard, and you can see this is already so anxious to report. And it should be followed by trophies. You gotta be careful, you're gonna get this permanent job, they say.
Maybe. Lisa Wilson, Deputy Director, Engineering and Operations. So for our project delivery update today, you can see we have 5 projects past due with another 26 get ready to advertise within the next 60 days. Looks like we're going to end the year above our goal of 85%. We're currently sitting at 89%, and just want to highlight that the regions and all their teams have advertised 159 projects so far, totaling almost $1.8 billion. Since we met last, we've advertised 25 projects, about $300 million. You can see on this chart what we've got coming up over the next few months. You'll see it ramping up August and September. Although they're not shown on this chart. Currently out in construction, we have 194 active projects with about $538 million left to pay out to those contractors. And so far in June, we paid out $30 million. Of course, there's still probably a lot left to come until we have to go through on this chart. Then our teams have been doing pretty good with our engineers' estimates. You can see their bids are coming in typically a little bit lower. You all know we've had troubles with estimating and inflation and stuff, but we seem to be doing quite a bit better. Unless there's any questions, that's all right.
That's good. So in addition to the state's economy, thank you.
Yes.
Morning, Commissioners. Troy Peterson, Operations Director. Happy to be here today to get an update on our zero fatalities operation. As you see on the chart right now, we're at, oops, let's go to the fatalities. There you go. So fatalities for the year so far, we are sitting at 116 fatalities this year. As a reminder, on this graph, blue line represents where our current numbers, and orange, we call that old year goal, is the target reduction, which you remember is 2.5% average over 3 years to reduce for a target towards zero. One item I want to bring up here to show, compare our fatalities from 2022 to today. You can see in this chart here, the 0 to report card, so fatalities for 2022, we were at 145 at this time last year. And right now we're still at 116. So we're about roughly 20% lower this year than we were last year, which is as a trend that we will continues throughout the year. One other item I want to show is you may recall our 100 business days began back in May 26th. And so far through the summer months here, we've had 17 fatalities. If you look through this chart that I'm showing here, roughly there's about one a day. So we're 30 days in, about 29 days actually, almost a month in. So as far as trends and looking at fatalities, this is I hope that continues to stay low. And share one other graph here for the fatalities. And so this particular graph I'm showing here on the fatality type shows our fatalities going down from showing not only our 5 safe driving behaviors we talked about a little bit here, but also showing you where each of those numbers are. It's like 81 of the 116 motorists. And then if you look at our pedestrians, we have 17 pedestrians, 16 motorcyclists, and 2 bicyclists, which is about 35 fatalities to 116 so far this year, and that's about 30% in the vulnerable category, vulnerable user category.
Troy, quick question on that. When you have someone that crosses over categories, let's say they're unrestrained and impaired, how do you handle that?
So you'll notice that in these numbers here that you don't add up right to 116. So they're both.
They get put in both. Perfect. Thank you.
But that kind of one. Thanks for your question, Commissioner. On the impaired driving, we've had 41 of the 116 this year have been impaired. 34 were aggressive or speeding. Unrestrained, we're still seeing numbers. It's interesting, 25 of those. And then distracted are showing 9. So far this year, 0 on the drive, doesn't drive. I think that's from all records are showing. Let me step back to our suspected serious crashes. You'll notice here that we're still up. Our numbers on our suspected serious traffic injuries are up, about 10% higher than our reduction target, as well as our total traffic crashes. We're about 38% higher than the target reduction of total crashes for the year. And that completes the an update on the 0 fatalities numbers.
May I just ask Troy, so what do we attribute the good reduction in fatality? That's great.
You know, that's a very interesting question. Because you look at over the last few years, we've seen that up and down. If you look at our charts, I think we're hoping that we're making a difference in the department, outreach towards fatalities efforts, as well as individuals are making the choices.
Yeah, whether it's publicity or peer pressure or more UHP enforcement or
probably all of the above.
Yeah. Keep it up. Keep it down.
Yeah.
Keep it
So
down.
along with that, are we seeing any correlation as the automobile industry tries to do things to vehicles to improve safety in terms of, automatic braking, all things? I mean, I'm wondering if any of those things, if anyone's done any studies to see if any of those things make a difference if they're trying to do or not. I'm just curious.
Yeah, I don't have the statistics on.
It's going to kind of go to maybe the national and see if they think that any of those, because they try to all the time come out with new things on vehicles that are supposedly helping. I'm just curious if they really do help them make a difference. That's just a thought I have.
Yeah, we're constantly making vehicle manufacturing, making cars safer. we're doing our best to make the road safer as well.
It's getting safer as people get more stupid. I don't know.
So balances that.
That's like we do the last five safe driving behaviors, and that's always wear a seatbelt. Try to focus on water. Most importantly, sober. So if there's any questions, any other questions?
I just have one, Maggie, real quickly. I'm so mindful of State Route 6 when we meet down in Price, and any observations or insights you'd share about State Route 6 as a priority for the state. I mean, we obviously saw all the money that's being put there, but I just think it's something we should talk about.
I agree with you. There's some efforts going their way to look at possibilities of finding some project types that we can do to make that route safer. We've got our traffic safety groups currently working with communities to prioritize HSIP funding and apply it to some of those. You're right, there are some of those crashes that we see along there that are very tragic.
Would it be accurate to say that UDOT has a formal policy and plan for improving State Route 6 from a safety perspective?
That's it.
Monty, you get answer that question.
Yes, Monty Ulrich, Region 4 Director. Yes, we do evaluate the safety index at 6. In fact, we just did an analysis this past spring to try to determine what potential project opportunities would reveal improvement in safety. And we include that project in the STIP. And we continually go on. So the ultimate build out based on the EIS is for a 4-lane separated highway through US 6. The estimated cost of that's about $1.7 billion to go from Spanish Wharf to I-7. And so we are taking a methodical, engineered approach to evaluate the safety and to come up with what projects are best suited to the project.
Just one last follow-up. So on that notion of a divided 4-lane improvements, is that like the state plan to do that? Ultimately?
It is, yes, it is the ultimate
It's very
build out.
interesting.
And incrementally trying to do projects that get us to that build out without requiring us to get into that spot.
I'll just editorially say to the commissioners, I think it's, I think our state has entered a new environment. We're now a mid-sized state. With, you know, it's different than it used to be, and it requires a lot of investment. And this is an example of an area of the state that could benefit from a lot more investment, even though we've been putting in a lot. So I just share that with the commissioners.
What I observed yesterday, we're kind of limited. On one side is the hills all the way through, and the other side is the UP line, the railroad line that we just kind of impedes this problem so quickly.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
I would, you know, back when John Norda was here, it wasn't that many years ago, 20, 25 years ago, when the people here in Price were putting signs up about the most dangerous highway in the United States. And I know John told me that he says, I asked him, because I traveled Highway 6 a lot, and he says, we can't do it all at once. There just isn't enough. But he says, we're doing $20 to $40 million projects. And he says, give us a few more years and you'll see a big difference. I think that's come to fruition. And there's some other plans I know that are being worked on. So you know, I know you haven't forgot it, but it's an important segment because not only for everyday traffic, as we saw from the trucks yesterday that are coming through, but recreation areas to get to the southern part of the state and things. So this will be a continued hotspot. It's just too bad we have the narrows. That's the biggest problem. And if there's another power line goes through that, that'll even be worse. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Item number 5 on the agenda is number 6, long range transportation plan, and Professor Thomas Cohen will present that.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. Thank you, Program Development. So yesterday, Jay Aguilar from our planning division went over an item on UDOT's long-range transportation plan. I'm just gonna do a quick summary of some key points from what we talked about yesterday. So as a recap, UDOT is responsible for long-range transportation planning in the areas of the state that are outside of the metropolitan planning area. So we showed that map yesterday, that's a big chunk of the state, other than the ones that are covered by the MPOs. So during this process, UDOT has worked with local governments, AOGs, their RPOs. I think he mentioned yesterday there was like 20 meetings with those various stakeholders throughout the state to develop this plan. The plan, the long-range transportation plan is updated every 4 years. And then the UDOT's portion of this is combined with all of the MPO's plans to form Utah's Unified Transportation Plan. And then we also talked about, and there'll be another item today, that this serves as the foundation for specifically the capacity project prioritization process, the long-range transportation plan. So one of the main reasons to talk about this today is that the 4-year cycle, the draft plan, the 2030 to 2050 plan is available for public comment starting today through July 25th. It is a 4-year process, but there is, I guess I should mention that there are abilities to make amendments during that 4-year period in between. So I'm gonna try my best here to navigate to the UDOT homepage, see if this works, and show everyone where to find that. So it's right here on the main banner page here. UDOT seeks public input on the draft plan. So if I click on that, there's a little bit of a description and a few different links on how to get to the plan. This is the stuff that Jay went over yesterday. So just real quick, it's set up to walk through this in a linear process, starting with the introduction and kind of walk through the process and kind of ending with the draft project list. And then the very last piece there where it says input needed is how people could provide comments or feedback on this. I guess I just will say in response to Commissioner Goffner's question on US 6, if you do look at this plan, that's a good place to see, like on US 6, and maybe I didn't mention this, like plan is broken up into phases, 10-year phases, 1, 2, and 3, and then there's an unfunded phase because our plans are fiscally constrained. And so if you look across the different phases and including the unfunded phase, you can see like along a corridor like US 6 on where like if you put it all together, you can see the big picture plan, and then you can kind of see how it's been broken up and where projects fit in the current thinking of how the project would go in that method that Monty described.
Yeah, one question, Ben. So when we say that the state policy is to have 2 lanes in each direction, in the unfunded part, is that dollar amount shown there? If it is the state plan to do that?
Yeah, I think the goal would be that if you combine all of the projects that are in the funded phases and the unfunded phase, it should kind of show the whole plan. And I'll give credit to Terry here on that she's been good at helping to guide that way of thinking about it. Like we should be able to look at a corridor like US 6 or US 40 or some of the other corridors and see what the ultimate plan is, even if we need to capture part of that in the unfunded phase. So
I really applaud that.
yeah. So anyway, that's what we got on this item.
Any questions for Dave? Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 7, Utah Airport Operation and Pilot Association report, and I think Jeff Hansen is going to be doing that position.
Good morning. I'm Jeff Hansen with the Utah Aviation Coalition, one of the founding members of that coalition to help support aviation here in Utah. We have met, discussed, reviewed, and recommend approval for the ACIP dated 4/14 of 23. Does everybody have a copy of that, or is that available?
Sure.
Sorry, what are you looking for?
The ACFP for the Utah.
Part of the program.
Yeah.
That was an E.
Of course.
Great. Easy to do.
That's the one.
So this is the 4-year plan from 2024 to 2028 that Utah Aeronautics.
So Jeff, there were 2 or 3 items were highlighted in one of those tables.
Yes.
Do you have any idea what they are for?
So Hanksville is the state-owned airport. So just to highlight that. And how the funds relate.
And I'll just add, that was actually something, I'm sorry, Matt Moss, Aeronautics Director. So I should have removed the highlighting. That was actually for staff, because we do have a few changes that we want to discuss with the commission when we actually present it for your approval. So, yeah, and I felt it goes, so I apologize for that. But I'll also add that, you know, Jeff is here to meet Utah code, requiring somebody from the aviation community to come and talk with the commission and just reassure you that we're open and transparent, and that the projects that we're doing do meet with the needs and requirements of the aviation communities.
Okay. Thank you.
It's a lot of work.
Last year, Dave Heyman from the same organization was here to report to the commission. So I would just say that if you have any comments, Jeff, or if you have any questions for Jeff at this point.
So this will be the commission approval for now.
Yeah, we're down a little bit lower on, but this is the opportunity for them to make comments on it.
Okay. Any question from Jeff or Matt?
I just want to comment how exciting it is that we have this much airport activity and exciting things are going on with drones and everything else. Apply your service on it with aerospace not combined with defense on Aaron Starks and all this. Really, it's a big part of our economy. And as Natalie would tell us, the whole segment. So thank you.
It's changing fast. You got to stay in front of it.
Yes. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks for your time.
Okay, on the business items, we have item number 8, consent agenda, and items and forward to consent.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, Commission. Ivan Hartle, Financial Programming for the Department. Let's see. First item that I'll be presenting is item 8, is the consent agenda. Including in this consent agenda packet are the minutes of May 4th, 2023 programming workshop, May 5th, 2023 transportation commission meeting, as well as a list of projects. These projects included in the exhibit have either been awarded, have been identified to have budget amounts that can be removed, or in the closeout process and have funding available to move to NP3 programs. So included in the packet of materials, here is the programming workshop meeting minutes, the items that were discussed. Many of these items will be brought forward on our commission fact sheets today. That's our workshop. And moving down to our transportation commission meeting minutes on Friday. The action items and record of the meeting. And our last item is the list of the table of funding that is currently being requested for approval to adjust these project values so the funding can be reprogrammed. Back to the top, our request today is a motion to approve the consent agenda items as presented.
I'll make that motion.
And I second that.
Motion and second. Any questions, comments? My comment is again, on behalf of the commission, thank you, Heather, for the wonderful ministry today. Thank you for spending up the next station. I encourage everyone to read these minutes before coming to these meetings. It's really good education. And again, thank you, the region directors and all the staff for returning the money back to the cost of $8 billion this time. Thank you. So with that, all in favor of this item, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Our next item, you had a brief intro into it. Our item 9A, this is our programming items or STIP amendments. The last item will culminate with the aeronautics discussion we just had. Our first item, 9A1, SR 67 500 South I-15. This is a funding addition request from our high volume roads and our highway safety improvement program, or HSIP. The project scope is to remove 1.5 inches of HMA and replace it with 1.5 inches of SMA. It's pavement type. During the recent project evaluation, the project team increased the recommended pavement application from 1.5 inches to 2 inches of SMA. This will add more structural support and better prevent rutting to the life of the pavement. Additionally, a future safety project is planned to add sinusoidal rumble strips to this section of roadway to reduce interruption to the public and take advantage of the project efficiencies. Traffic and Safety proposes to add funds and scope to the current project. Located here on our map. Our request today is a motion to add funds to the SR 67 500 South I-15 project as detailed.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you.
Second.
There's a motion and second. Any questions, comments? I or someone, I would like to know the difference between HMA and SMA, the price differences and the shelf life.
Thank you.
I'm not sure I can answer. Rob White, Region 1 Director. I'm not sure I can answer all your questions. SMA relies on a lot of the strength from the aggregate. It's a stone matrix aggregate. It relies on stone to stone contact for its structure, versus HMA relies a lot more on the asphaltic material for its structure. SMA is a little more expensive. I want to say 20% probably more expensive, but it's a better product as far as structure of the roadway. In this area where we're seeing rutting, it's going to add some structure to the roads to be able to deal with that rutting.
What is the shelf life?
Typically 10 to 12 years. That will give us before we have to come back again.
Thank you.
You know, I know that we have a busy agenda, but I have to say, after seeing all those heavy trucks go through the port yesterday, I thought, boy, whatever it takes, give us the SMA, give us whatever. Those are big loads. Spoiler alert.
So with that, all in favor of item number 8, 1, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Item 9A-1 is approved.
Thank you. Our next item, 9A-2, SR 177, 1800 North, 5500 South Environmental Project. This is the new project from our Transportation Investment Fund. In the 2023 Utah General Legislative Session, Senate Bill 2 directed the department to complete an environmental analysis on the West Davis corridor at 5500 South and 1800 North. This project will analyze and determine the best route in order to continue the West Davis Highway north of 5500 South. The scope was directed by the legislature, but the funding was left to be determined by the department. The driving team has estimated the cost of the given scope of work, and the department now proposes the project value to be approved by the Transportation Commission. Included in the fact sheet is the language from Senate Bill 2 directing the department. Included in the packet is a map of the area in which the environmental analysis will take place. The request today is a motion to approve adding the SR 177, 1800 North to 5500 South environmental project to the current STIP as detailed.
So moved.
Thank you.
I'll second.
And motion in a second. Any other questions, comments, concerns? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item 9A-2 is approved. Thank you.
Thank you. 9A-3 is a fund and scope change from our Transportation Investment Fund on the I-15 SR-97 widening the 5600 South project. The scope of this project is to reconfigure and reconstruct the 5600 South interchange, reconstruct a portion of I-15 and widen 5600 South from I-15 to SR-108. The current project estimate was completed in 2019, was based on a preliminary design and environmental assessment. The work also requires a realignment of the Davis and Weaver Canal. The proposed funding request breakdown is as follows. Construction inflation since that 2019 estimate of 78 million, right-of-way inflation of 25 million, additional material quantities of 30 million, and the Davis and Weaver Canal reconfiguration of 70 million. Shown here on our map, the project, and an overlay of the intersection. The request today is a motion to add funding and scope to the I-15 and SR-97 5600 South widening on 5600 South project.
Quick question for me. Those inflation numbers are unbelievable. And I guess they're legitimate, but why aren't we getting more of these if all of them, you know, if inflation affects every project the same, this seems particularly high.
Yeah. More than 6.1%.
Anyway, I don't know what to say. I'm just being frustrated. You don't have to respond. It's okay. It's just this notion. It's like if that's what is costing us on projects that much more, it seems like all we would do is do inflation increases.
I'm sure that as a third-party contractor is the one they have to deal with. If you don't was doing it, I'm sure it would be cheaper.
As we stated, that the original cost estimate was from 2019, and the challenges, the difference between the estimated inflation we had in 2019 versus the actual experienced inflation rates that we've had in the last 3 years, pretty dramatically different from what was anticipated.
I will say that they have come down dramatically. You know, and I realize I'm not speaking construction price indices, but we've gone from a 9% environment to a 4% environment in the last 6 months. So.
Any other question? So with that, all in favor of item number 3, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. 9A-4 is a weighted project. This is a new project from our freight program. $5 million. Vehicle weight is a critical data input in pavement design. Waste has historically been collected by weigh-in motion stations. However, over the past 20 years, All of UDOT's way in motion sites outside the port of entry have fallen into disrepair. For the last 13 years, UDOT has been relying on national default weight data and data from the way in motion site maintained by the North Carrier Division for the information needed in paper design. However, for UDOT to meet current FHWA requirements, additional way in motion sites will be needed or will need to be installed. FHWA has informed UDOT that additional way in motion sites will be needed to be installed to meet federal requirements. There's an additional report included in the materials that was compiled by Ryan Bailey in the Performance Management Division. Way in motion sites provide axle weight and vehicle classification data that are valuable for a variety of applications, including pavement and bridge management, brake analysis, and weight enforcement. The project would use our NHFT or from our freight program that is currently available. Our request today is a motion to approve the way in motion station project and add to current STIP contingent on the freight plan accepted through FHWA as detailed. So on our contingency that we have, our freight plan must be accepted by Federal Highways. That plan is currently being developed and will be submitted to Federal Highways soon. So if the freight plan is be approved, we would take action on this project prior to the end of the fiscal year, as I've already talked about on being able to obligate it this current year.
This is particularly timely after yesterday's time in the board. I would motion to approve this.
Yeah, I consider myself an expert also. Actually, we're not doing new stations, we're just putting new weight monitors in the existing port facilities. Is that accurate?
There will actually be additional stations throughout the state that have the way in motion.
So it doesn't
Will be
overlay on the
installed.
port.
So it won't only be at the port of entries, but will actually be in the roadway area.
Put one right outside your driveway.
My wife says I have a lot of weight in motion, but nonetheless, we're not going to build new stations. We're just going to put these in the. I just don't understand. For $5 million, we spent 14 on the Peerless Port. It just seems like I'm just confused. I certainly see the need for it. I'm just wondering, new buildings coming up or not?
We have Ryan Bailey online with us, and he's jumping to make that comment.
Okay.
Yes, so we would be, not only would we be utilizing our port of entries, which on the port of entries, we need to extend them across all lanes to meet the federal requirement, where currently we were only in one lane that captures the trucks that are going to there. So we will be extending them through all lanes to capture all vehicles going across, as well as there'll be targeted locations throughout the state, which are been brought up by our pavement group, as well as our port of entry group, that says there's access roads where larger vehicles are, I wouldn't say alleviating the port of entries, but they are definitely utilizing these other roads. So we'll be using the way in motion there and then sharing that with our partners.
So no new buildings, it sounds like.
No new buildings, no, sir, just boxes and then the sensors themselves.
Thank you.
So that was a second.
That was a definite second, yeah. Thank
So
you.
we have a motion in a second.
Sorry.
Any questions, concerns, comments? I guess we're all experts since yesterday.
Yeah.
Certainly better informed, not experts, but better informed.
And believers, you know, I love it.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item number 4 is approved. Thank you.
Thank you. Item number 5, our Bangalore 3 interchange project is a funding addition of our Transportation Investment Fund. The scope of the Bangalore 3 interchange project was to convert 3 at-grade intersections on Bangalore Highway to graded separated interchanges at 6200 South, 104 South, and 126 South. The increased project funding will cover overruns on right-of-way acquisition costs for these projects. Here are our map. 6200, 104, and 126. Our request today is a motion to add funds to the Bangalore 3 interchange project as detailed.
I move for approval.
Thank you.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any other questions? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item 9A-5 is approved. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next item is the Cottonwood Canyon Variable Message Sign. These are new projects from our recreational hotspots, our Cottonwood Canyon Rec Hotspot program. The Cottonwood Canyons Variable Message Signs Project will install 3 variable message signs. 2 VMS signs will be placed on southbound SR 190, one for Big Cottonwood Canyon and the other for Little Cottonwood Canyon. The 3rd VMS sign would be placed on eastbound SR 209 or 94th south and near 1700 east. The purpose of the project is to inform the traveling public of the following conditions: congestion, closure, crashes, or incidents, road conditions, special events, or parking conditions. Located here on our map, the two variable message signs on 190, and then the one on SR 209 here.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
I think these are valuable. I'm surprised we haven't had them before. If you're headed up to ski or use the canyon for whatever, you know ahead of time, you might change your mind before you get there. So I think this is valuable. I move for approval.
Second that.
Quick comment. It's interesting, the placement of those signs. They're pretty far from the canyon opening. I would guess there's been a lot of thought that's put into that.
A lot of it's the ability to alert the traveling public before there. So it may not be those going up the canyon, but also those traveling through that area. They may take a different route based on the information that they're receiving.
Yeah.
So the idea was just to give that knowledge up.
Yeah, because there's a lot of ways to access the canyon that aren't on those routes, would be my point.
I was just struck by the per unit cost of those.
Mhm. Thank you.
Yeah.
All in favor of item number 6, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And 9A, that's 6.
Thank you. 9A-7, the I-80 pavement repairs. This is a new transportation solutions project for $3.5 million. This past winter, significant soft spots opened up on sections of I-80 in Summit County due to the combination of increased snowfall and insufficient drainage infrastructure. Pavement reconstruction and drainage improvements are needed on the eastbound I-80 off-ramp at Kimball's Junction and the westbound flyover ramp from northbound US 40 to westbound I-80. Located here on our map at Kimball Junction and flyover, as well as some pictures, a picture of pavement conditions at the time.
Is this project already being done? Some of it, or?
Some of it's maintenance work that was being done.
So we'll combine this with what's going on there now?
Nathan Peterson, Region 2 Deputy Director. A portion of the project will be combined with what's going on there now. So the flyover from US 40 onto I-80, there's some structural work that's going on. Down there where the flyover meets I-80, you'll see some additional work typically done by our maintenance crews. And then we have another contractor in the area where we want to change order some work in there to do some of the drainage work. Because what happened, as you can see from these photos, is that mode of failure for this section of pavement was water being introduced into the sublayer pavements, and that forced the pavement to fail. So we need to do some pre-work with some under drains and some drainage to take the water away from the roadway prism, the roadway itself, the underlaying rock layers, and then go back with asphalt. So what you're seeing, the 3.5 million for this would be the actual asphalt work, which will happen in the later day this fall.
Well, it's a good project. I mean, it was getting bad, so it's a good project.
Yeah, and I think what you saw this year is, it sounds like you've driven through there quite a bit.
Yeah, you get a little back up there sometimes. Yeah. On the detour.
Yeah, with the amount of snow that we had up in the area, I mean, there's nowhere for the snow to go. Maple Street bushes just stacked up there, and it infiltrated as it melted in the pavement.
Do we have a motion on that, Mr. Chair?
Not yet.
I'd make the motion that we approve.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Thank you, Nate. So we have a motion and a second. All in favor,
Thank
say
you.
aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item number 9A-7 is approved.
Thank you.
For information to commission, and we have hundreds of these projects coming in the next few months. So when you rain and snow, it's also great for money how to. That's my comment. Thank you.
Related 988, I-215 structure deck repair is a new project from Transportation Solutions at $4 million. This past winter, significant potholes appeared on several structures on I-215 and at Indiana Avenue and also at the I-80 interchange. UDOT maintenance crews have been installing temporary patches on the asphalt overlay, but more permanent repairs are needed on the structural decks. Located here on our map. And then some of the pictures of some of the maintenance, the maintenance work was done, putting those temporary patches in. The request today is a motion to approve the I-215 structures deck repair project and add concurrence to this detail.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. The motion and the second, any other questions, comments? Again, it's just like the previous projects. And unfortunately, those temporary patches don't last that long either. So that's the different solution. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item number 9A-8 is approved.
9A-9 is a funding addition of scope change for the Vernal Avenue improvements for 200 South Main Street. The Vernal Avenue improvements is a joint highway committee project. The original project scope is to reconstruct pavement, adding bike lanes and pedestrian access from 200 south to approximately 130 north. The city proposes to remove the work from the north of US 40 to focus on the 2 blocks south. So located here on our map, the original work and the new proposed work here. Included in this packet is a letter from Quinn Binion of Vernal City committing to the change. Our request today is a motion to add funding. Move to approve adding funds and change scope to the Vernal Avenue improvements project as detailed.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
I'll take that motion and just remind the committee that when it was in Vernal, this is part of the park area they're redoing and grading off of Main Street.
That's right.
Will they be redoing that north section as well? They're coming back, so they'll be coming back.
But this will
later.
handle new bicycle traffic and walking traffic.
I second that also. It's again, an endorsement why we make these tours, because I remember that and it's helpful to see on site. So thank you, Senator.
So we have motion and a second. Any other questions? Comments? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item number 9A-9 is approved.
Our next item, 9A-10, Daniels Canyon pavement repair, new project Transportation Solutions, $350,000. During the winter, US 40 had sections of chip seal fell between mileposts 27 and 35. The project scope is to apply a crack seal, asphalt patching, and microsurfacing is needed in the eastbound direction of US 40. Microsurfacing will be applied in the westbound direction as needed. Located here on our map. Our request today is a motion to approve adding the Daniels Canyon pavement repair project to the current state of Steve.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you for that. Again, this is part of the same suggestion that Ricky had mentioned, and Kevin, of course, with that comment, so. They're going everywhere.
Yeah, they would.
Yep. The fact that the major trucks are coming from the canyon. With that comments, all in favor of this project, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item number 9A-10 is approved. Thank you.
Our next item, 9A-11, is the I-15 Lyman Utah County project. This is a new transportation solutions project, $350,000 as well. Region 3 has areas of non-functioning highway lighting on I-15. This project will upgrade or replace approximately 650 lights along I-15 in Utah County and upgrade 5 power pedestals near Santa Clara, Benjamin, and Payson. Located here on our map, I-15 through Utah County. Our request today is a motion to approve adding the I-15 lighting Utah County project to the current STIP as detailed.
So moved. Second, that's a lot of traffic on that road.
Yeah.
Any other questions, comments? Seeing none, all in favor of this project, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item number 9A-11 is approved.
Next item, 9A12. This is the Highway 191 Safety Improvement Project, Senate Bill 3 from the 2023 legislative session. Shown here is a table of projects that have been identified with indicated proposed project values. The US 191 corridor between US 4 and US 6 is estimated to have an increase in heavy truck traffic, so 600 to 800 new super tanker trucks per day carrying 125,000 pounds each. A safety and maintenance issue is expected to develop in the increased heavy truck traffic as the increased heavy truck traffic adversely impacts the pavement integrity. To prepare for this change, the 2023 Utah General Legislative Session directed $88.5 million towards the corridor in Senate Bill 3. The following projects are recommended to be funded as a result. So included is a list of each of these projects, the associated scope, and proposed project value. Those will also slowly scroll through these sections. As well as located on the map here, the associated projects and locations along the highway. We expect that we'll be returning back to the commission in later meetings with informational items as we combine some of these projects together for lighting and construction. Our request today is a motion to approve Highway 191 Safety Improvement Project, Safety Improvements, Senate Bill 3 projects, and add to the current STIP as detailed.
I would make that motion.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Thank you for that.
I have a question. You mentioned adding fiber optic along one. Aren't we adding fiber optic, everything new that we're doing? Typically? I thought that was part of our building for the next century kind of approach.
Okay.
Thanks.
Bob Clayton, Region 3 Director. I know that the folks at the Traffic Management Division have a priority list of the corridors that need to have fiber optics installed to enhance service to communities and enhance our ability to manage traffic. And this is one of the corridors that's a priority on that list. I don't think it's in every project, but when our project coincides with that priority list, then we try to get those funded.
It seems like a very smart thing to do,
Mr. Chairman.
The world to do it.
Yes.
This area has no fiber optics in it at all. The cell service is very limited, and even the camera we've got up there is okay. It's better than nothing, but this should improve those, allow us more cameras to monitor the situation, be on top of things quicker. So it's time to put it in.
It'll make a huge difference for management of that corridor in the time.
Thank you.
I know we're on a time schedule, but what's the current on the railroad situation? Is that probably going to be irrelevant right now, but maybe I can talk to you about that later. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I do think it's important to acknowledge the legislative funding that makes this happen. So
Yes.
we didn't have to pull it from our other limited resources.
That is correct. Thank you. So any other questions? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item number 9A-12 is approved. Thank you.
9A-13, this is the 2023-2024 UDOT employee training budget. The Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, IIJA, made amendments to the Section 504, Title 23 of the U.S. Code, which authorizes the state DOT to obligate funds from 4 federal aid highway formula programs, the NHPP, SDBG, HSIP, and CMAQ, respectively, for surface transportation workforce development, training and education, which was defined in the 23 USC 504 code. As activities associated with surface transportation career awareness, student transportation career preparation, and training and professional development for surface transportation workers. Funds may be used for surface transportation workforce development, training, and education, including tuition, employee professional development, student internships, pre-apprenticeships, and career opportunities for on-the-job training, educational activities, including outreach to develop interest and promote participation in surface transportation careers. The Employee Development Group within UDOT proposes the following targets for this project: our strategic workforce planning, recruitment, engagement and skill development, knowledge management, career path development, career enhancement, development and performance management, assessment and evaluation, and leadership development and succession planning. I think it would be, as I know to the commission, we anticipate next year that this will be coming to the commission as a program rather than an individual project. Our programming workshop. Our request today is a motion to approve the 2023-2024 UDOT employee training budget project and to add the current STIP as detailed.
So moved. I love this and the components of it and internships and that we're investing in our people, I think is so important.
Seconded, all the duties.
You have Lori Autonomy online as well. Director of our learning and management groups.
That's a great program.
Yeah, let's see how.
Any other questions, comments?
Lori.
Lori, do you have anything to add? Enhance, whatever you want to do?
Hello, everyone. No, thank you so much for the support. I too think it's very important and look forward to being able to attract and retain our folks.
Thank you. It's a wonderful program.
Yes.
All in favor of this project, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item number 9-8, number 9A-13 is approved.
9A14, I-15 parapet repair summit to Para 1 is a funding addition from the Transportation Solutions Program. The scope of the I-15 parapet repair summit to Para 1 project is to repair and replace parapets on 4 I-15 structures that have deteriorated. The structures are located in the I-15 near milepost 71 and milepost 77. The repairs will improve the safety for these roadside features. Additional funding is needed to address inflation related to concrete, rebar, and other construction costs. So located here, Para 1 and Summit, as well as some pictures of some of the parapets to be repaired.
I just want to mention that on the way to this meeting, I stopped knowing these two projects coming before commission and did a personal observation. It is needed.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
I move for approval.
thank you.
I second that.
Thank you for that. Any other questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item 9A-14 is approved. Thank you.
Our next item is the Henryville Bridge replacements. It's a funding addition from our structures program. This project will replace structures at SR12 over Henryville Wash and SR12 over Dry Wash, located just northeast of Henryville. The superstructure of both bridges have significant rough buildup, preventing the connections to perform as intended and requiring frequent monitoring. The cost increase is caused by the increase of labor and material costs in remote locations and a more extensive temporary roadway to improve general traffic conditions and rider safety during construction. Located here on our map, structures. And pictures of the two structures. Our request today is a motion to approve the funding addition to the Henryville Bridge replacement projects as detailed.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you.
I'd second.
There's a motion and a second. Any questions, comments? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item number 9A-15 is approved.
Our next item, 9A16, 16A is the Elwood Mille River Bridge Replacement Program Change in Funding Addition and the Bridge Formula Program Elwood Town Bridge Replacements New Project. These two new projects, at the April 29, 2022 Transportation Commission meeting, the commission approved the bridge list, a list of 90 bridges prioritized based on a condition and load restrictions eligible for funding in the Infrastructure Investment Jobs Act Bridge Formula Program. The following locally owned town of Elwood bridges are on the approved Bridge Formula Program structure list. These three. The department proposes to transfer the PIN 19475 from the 2024 Structures Program to the Bridge Formula Program. This structure is currently in poor condition and is located on the federal highway system. Therefore, this project will require a local agency match under the Bridge Formula Program. In addition, the project value is being increased to account for the rise in material and labor costs that have taken place in recent years. The town of Elwood is in support of the project and is able to provide the necessary match. Included in the packet material is a letter from the town. Our second item, or the next two structures, this proposed project in 21147 will perform full bridge replacements of these two structures. The existing structures are currently in poor condition and are located off the federal aid highway system. Therefore, no local agency match is required under the Bridge Formula Program. The town of Elwood has been contacted and is in support of the project. So located here are the three structures. Pictures of the three structures here.
Say attention to those cables hanging forward.
Yes, having driven in this area, Mr. Chair, these are really important bridges, especially for the local people and agriculture. So it's important that we address these. I was shocked when I drove through there not too long ago. So this is an important item, a small item, but important.
Thank you.
Our request today is a motion to approve the Elwood Mille River Bridge Replacement and the Bridge Formula Program Elwood Town Bridge Replacements, two bridges projects.
I'd like to make that motion, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Second. Motion in the second. Any other questions, comments? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item number 9A-16 is approved. Thank you.
9A16B is to replace two locally owned bridges in Salt Lake City. At the April 29, 2022 Transportation Commission meeting, the commission approved the bridge list, the same bridge, 90 bridges we talked about a minute ago. The following locally owned Salt Lake City bridges are on the approved Bridge Formula Program structure list: 200 south over Jordan River and 1500 west, 650 north over the Jordan River. This proposed scope of the project is to perform full bridge replacements of these two structures. The existing structures are currently in low fare and poor condition respectively, and are located on the federal aid highway system. Therefore, this project will require a local agency match under the Bridge Formula Program. Salt Lake is in support of the project and is able to provide the necessary match. So located here on our map, the two structures over the Jordan River. As stated, Salt Lake City has been contacted. There's a letter from Stevens Moore from Salt Lake City committing to the match, as well as our pictures of the two structures here. Our request today is a motion to approve the Bridge Formula Program Salt Lake City Bridge replacements projects as detailed.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I would move for approval.
Thank you.
Second.
Okay, motion in a second. Any questions, comments? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item number 9A-16-B is approved. Thank you.
Next item, 9A17, the enhanced bus tolling, mobility hub, and bus stops, Big and Little Cottonwood Canyon project. This is a new project from legislative funds. And our red trails hotspots, 192 million. In the general legislative session, the 2023 Utah legislative session, line 4022 and 4026 from the Senate L2 directed the department to fund a project to provide enhanced bus service, tolling, and mobility hub and resort bus stops for the Big and Little Cottonwood Canyons. The current funding would fund the majority of the project estimate, currently at 250 million. The department plans to split this funding into small projects to better manage the scope. As shown in the table here, there was $100 million from the legislative session from the general fund, one-time general fund, and $50 million that the legislature directed the department from the Cottonwood Canyons Transportation Investment Fund, as well as $42 million in the Cottonwood Canyons Red Hotspot program. Our request today is a motion to approve adding the enhanced bus tolling, mobility hub, and bus stops, Big and Little Cottonwood Canyons to the current STED as detailed.
Quick question. What will this accomplish? What are we thinking it will do to the messiness that is the canyons right now? Like, will we see a notable improvement quickly?
As soon as we implement this portion of the project, that's what the expectation is, that we would see a big improvement. It needs all the pieces of it together in order to make it work. So yeah, we do expect that this, I think it would provide about half of the buses of an ultimate solution, but we think that this would make a big difference.
I just put out there editorially that this has been the situation we found ourselves in with Big and Little Cottonwood Canyon is I don't want to use too strong of a word, but has been a transportation, what's the word, Terry? Nightmare failure. We have to do better here. And I love seeing something like this, but what I experienced in the last, so this is my area, but what I experienced in the last year did not represent our state well, because it's so inconvenient and a system failure where you're just stuck, and that doesn't represent our visitors well. So this is super needed, and I would say that we need to 2x these kinds of things.
Totally agree with Commissioner Gottner. How quickly can this be implemented at this level? I mean, just next season or something, we're leaving the state.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, it takes a bit, some of the buses that would be needed. It's a long manufacturing process in there. So I believe that we're 2 years out before this would be implemented.
Hopefully people from Colorado will be able to come here and see this.
Do we have the property location for this up to go in? Within Acquire?
I'm looking, Charles, we've been working on the property for the mobility hub, and we do not have that purchased yet. So there have been serious negotiations on that for quite some time now. It's difficult at best.
I don't remember if a motion was made, but I would love to make a motion and just put as a highlight on it that we need to accelerate and deepen what we're doing here.
Thank you for that.
I'll second that motion if it's not been seconded.
Thank you. There's a motion in the second with all the concerns, of course. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Amendment number 9A-17. It's approved.
Interesting.
9A18 are from here, next few are informational only items. This is a new project, for a local project, 4700 South, 5400 West, 5600 West. It's funded $2 million federally, and then some local $145,000 match. The scope of the 4700 South, 5400 West, 5600 West project will reconstruct the existing roadway, widen the roadway to provide 2 lanes in each direction with a center turn lane, add bike lanes in each direction to travel, and add sidewalk in gap areas. In the August 13th, 2021 commission meeting, this portion of an original project in 11085 was pulled out to allow coordination with Union Pacific Railroad and obtain the necessary agreements. This project was recently awarded $2 million from the Federal Consolidated Appropriations Act in 2023 and will be funded with the required match from Kearns Township. So located here on our map on 4700 South. And that is the information on the item.
Again, for the commission information, this item was not pulled, but because it was for information only. In Ivan's wisdom, he will take the last item.
So this is on Bangor. I'm sorry, I'm a little slow here. Just can you go up just a bit on the page? I've had,
So 4700 South here. Bangor is actually on the right edge of the map. This is west.
okay, yeah, that's the one.
I'm going to quarter over here.
Okay, thank you.
Our next item, 9A19, are project combinations. There are two project combinations from Region 4, live view camera replacement projects and some wildlife fencing projects are the combinations. These individual projects have previously been approved through commission action. Project combinations are done to provide efficiencies in project delivery. The next item, 9A20, is I-15 North Santaquin Interchange Environmental. During the 2023 Utah legislative session, a project was identified in Senate Bill 3, directing the department to conduct a $4 million environmental study to evaluate impacts of reconstructing the North Santaquin Interchange on I-15. This study will gather information, collect, analyze traffic data, perform an environmental analysis, engage the public, develop a preferred alternative concept design, and complete the environmental documentation. As the legislature directed both scope and project value to the project, this is an information only item. Located here on our map in Santaquin.
Yeah.
Question? Our next item, 9A21, is the front runner station at Point of the Mountain and double tracking, information only. In the general session of the 2023 Utah legislative session, line 4012 to 4016 from Senate Bill 2, directed the department to fund the front runner double tracking point of the mountain. The total project value needed is estimated currently at $400 million, but only $200 million has been set aside for this project to date. Shown on the fact sheet is the language from the bill. Again, this is an informational type. The next item, 9A22, is the recreational trails program. This is information only. The program, the recreational trails program, is a federally funded program that was authorized in Congress in 1991 as part of the Intermodal Surface Transportation Efficiency Act of 1991. The act established the RTP funding and the Federal Rec Trails Trust Fund. RTP grants are available for non-motorized and motorized trail projects. This program has continued through current authorization. These projects are selected and administered through the Utah State Parks and Recreation Division. Funds may be used to provide and maintain recreational trails for motorized, non-motorized recreational trail uses in trail side and trailhead facilities. It includes provisions to facilities to facilitate access for people with disabilities as well. In the 2024 program, Utah has 21 projects totaling $1.9 million of federal aid and just short of $7.7 million of sponsoring match funds for a total project value of a little over $9.6 million of new project value. Our contact information regarding the recreational trails program is Carolyn Wood-Weiler at the Department of Natural Resources and Tara McKee at the Governor's Office of Business Development. Included in the packet is a list of projects. Also shown on the list of projects at the top of this list is the non-motorized list. And showing the project overview, the application, entity, the local and federal match. Get down to the next section, shows the motorized, the sponsor, total project value and the recreation trails funding, as well as at the bottom of this shows the list of applications that were received but were not awarded funding, not selected for funding at this time.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I'd like to make a comment about this. This is an important, a very important issue. And I realize it is statewide, but especially in the area where we're at, we're seeing incredibly increased use of our recreational trails to the point of safety being a large factor. So I just want to make sure people understand how critically important this is in certain areas of the state. So thank you. I appreciate the work that's being done and the funds that are being allocated and the great discussions we're having with various entities, including UDOT. We've had collaborative meetings with UDOT and Outdoor Recreation, and they've been in the community. They've been looking at the issues, but I can't tell you how many people are on our roads, on electric bikes, on scooters, walking. It's just amazing how much the increase is happening. And it's extended past just the summer months when you would anticipate seeing people on the roads. So thank you.
Thank you.
So this item will come back in August at the request for approval. Our next item, 9B, the 2023 programming workshop proposed project list. In the May 2023 programming workshop, the department presented proposed projects that would use the proposed funding to preserve, maintain, and operate transportation assets owned by the state of Utah. The attached list details the proposed project values and the programs requiring project level approval. The projects listed are funded through the following programs: Transportation Solutions, High Volume, Low Volume, Structures, and the Joint Highway Committee recommendations. Included in the packet material are those list of projects for high volume, for our Joint Highway Committee, low volume, structures, and the Transportation Solutions projects that were discussed during the workshop. Our request today is a motion to approve adding the 2023 programming workshop proposed project list to the draft fiscal year 2024 to 2029 STIP.
This is the big one. I'll make this motion.
Okay, thank you.
A lot of work has gone into this, a lot of preparation. We've been taught well. We've had the chance to review everything and vet it. And I think some really wonderful, difficult work has gone into this.
I'll second.
There's a motion and a second. Any other questions, comments? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item 9B is approved. 9B has been approved.
Thank you. 9C, the proposed 2023-2024 Rural Public Transit Program for approval. Each year, the UDOT Rural Public Transit Division presents the statewide Rural Public Transit Program to the Commission for approval and inclusion into the draft STIP. The statewide Rural Public Transit Program is a planning level summary of project and cost estimates. The Rural Public Transit Program was presented for review in May and now presented for approval. The funding list is not guaranteed until federal grants are issued. Shown here, so this was the list of the COVID relief funds that was discussed earlier. Our 2023 Rural Transit Program amounts and then 2024 Rural Transit.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve this.
I second that with the question, when will we know the federal grants? I mean, it just depends on what we before their fiscal year ends in September.
So we've received the 2023 values that we'll be working through, but 2024, we haven't received those portion totals yet. So some of the values may change a little bit based on that. And as this money comes through FTA, we usually receive those apportionments in about January, mid to end of January each.
For the record, the extra in the wrong place in the draft proposal, so it's in the commission approval.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So.
I second it.
Okay. The motion and the second, any other questions? With no corrections, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item number 9C is approved.
Thank you. 9D is the draft fiscal year 2024 to 2029 statewide transportation improvement program, the release for public comment. The draft 2024 to 2029 STIP has been prepared and summarized to reflect guidance and suggestions resulting from region priorities in the March, April, and May commission workshops. Upon approval for release, public notice will be posted through the Utah Media Group, and the draft will be placed on UDOT's website. The formal public comment period begins the 24th of June and extends through the 29th of July. The draft STIP can be sorted by county and region. A link to submit public comment will be provided on the UDOT website. The draft STIP will be brought back to the Transportation Commission for approval in August, along with any comments received. One comment to add, this would include the public comment that we're currently coordinating with the NPO partners as well. Included in the packet materials are the draft by region and the draft STIP by county. Our request today is a motion to approve releasing the draft fiscal year 2024 to 2029 STIP for public comment.
Like Donna said, on the other, a lot of work has gone into this and now it goes for public comment. So I move for approval, but we allow everyone to review and give comment.
I'll second that.
Thank you. There's a motion and a second. Any other comments, questions, concerns?
It's really great what we do in this state. I just gotta say.
Yeah.
But thank you all.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item number 9 is approved. Thank you.
Our next item, the proposed 2024-2028 Utah Airport Capital Improvement Program. Each year, the Division of Aeronautics presents a 5-year statewide airport capital improvement program, or ACIP, to the Commission for approval. The ACIP is a planning level summary of projects and cost estimates of both FAA and the state fund projects in the statewide airport system. ACIP was presented for review in May and approval in June. Funding for the projects listed in the ACIP is not guaranteed until federal and state grants are issued. Again, included in the packet materials, the list of projects here.
Jim's already gone, so Matt.
Sorry, I was just conversing with Blake also, and so. Just to clarify the highlighted projects, there were some changes between what was submitted last month and what was submitted today. Some of it was one of the projects was just because federal funding wouldn't pay for design, and so we were just increasing state funding by that amount, decreasing federal funding by that amount. Doing some engineering, additional engineering with another project to take funds, to utilize funds correctly. So nothing major, but at the same time, we'd be transparent and open. I wanted to make sure that the commission was understanding. I also wanted to report back because Chair Zanati had asked how much of the funds go to Salt Lake City International. And so of this 5-year CIP, of the $543 million, 330 of that actually goes to Salt Lake International. So it's roughly around 61%. So, and I'm happy to answer any questions. And again, I'm Matt Ross, Director of Aeronautics.
Any questions from Matt before he disappears?
Yeah. So, and we've hired Nick Holt to handle compiling ACIP next year, so there won't be as many mistakes. So,
Thank you. Thank you for that.
okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Matt.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a
Yes.
motion.
Did you say that motion yet?
Yeah, I hate it when I get ahead. So excited.
Our request today is a motion to approve the proposed 2024-2028 Utah Airport Capital.
Now it is time.
Mr. Chair, may I please make the motion to approve this capital improvement for the airports in the state of Utah?
You may, and thank you.
I would like to stop it.
Any other comments, questions, concerns? With that, then, all in favor of number 9E, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That item is approved. Thank you.
Thank you. That's all for me today.
Thank you. Take a break. I didn't even get it on.
Take mine back.
Welcome, Your Honor. Your Majesty, Your Excellency.
Yeah.
I am still subject to Senate approval, so let's not get ahead of ourselves. I've got some information for you today, and some requests to make.
We have no doubt that you will approve these changes.
Thank you. I very much appreciate it, Chair. If you're all right, we'll dive into the budget and obligation sheet. With the change in the commission's schedule, we were not able to meet the deadline for getting this into the prior commission meeting. So we'll start with the end of March numbers. Balance forward is just under $47 million with rental tax revenue of just under $1 million, public property management income and interest income, making the total revenue of just over $1.2 million. Total expenses during the month of just over $50,000. We were able to close on the Alvey residence down in Eagle Mountain along SR 73, taking another $747,000 out of the budget. At that point, the fund balance was just over $47.3 million. We had 4 items approved by the commission and funds obligated. Just by way of an update, the park and ride parcel for Mount View Corridor, we've had wonderful progress. We kind of got stuck for a little while figuring out what our needs were. The America First folks had some development plans that were a little bit in flux, but Diana has done a great job moving that process forward. I do expect we'll be coming back to you for a little bit of change to the obligated amount, given that the real estate market has changed over the last few years, but we do hope to be able to move forward in the not too distant future on that. The vineyard acquisition involving a trade with entities related to the LDS Church. We got stuck on some contract negotiations. We've had a very productive meeting in recent weeks, and we've just circulated some updated documents. So I'm cautiously optimistic that we'll be able to move that forward again in the near future. The Saunders sign, we're having some challenges finding a location that will work, but we're going to keep working on that and may or may not have good news. That's a little in flux. The 2 parcels that show as pending, you have approved that at least as of the end of March, they were pending. They were not yet approved by the commission, so that's why they show in that category. Putting all of those numbers together, we had a balance at the end of March of just over $27.2 million. We have the next month available for you. You see some of those numbers move forward into April. We have income of just over $1.2 million. The expenses of just over $47,000, giving a fund balance of $48.585 million. We have the obligated items of just over $20.1 million. And we have 3 requests today that total just over 5.3. If those are approved today, it would leave a fund balance of just over $23.1 million. I will say we have some reimbursements coming online with the 1800 North project in the very near term. We expect a little over $5 million to come back into the fund from that project. We have another parcel on Highway 89 that we expect to bring in about $1 million. So there should be about $6 million coming in soon. And of course, the legislature appropriated $60 million beginning of fiscal year 24. So the fund should be healthy for a good while. Hope I'm leaving it in good shape for you as I move on to the next phase of my career. We have our tracking sheet, which I'll show some of the trends in income. The thing that jumps out to me is the interest income is significant. So as many challenges as that creates for consumers, at least for the Martin Recorder Preservation Fund, it is good news. Do you have any questions about the budget or any of the information there?
You're looking at really good shape. Thank you, Charles.
Yes, I would agree. And we've conducted all of our meetings and the interactions in such a professional manner and very thorough work with your team to make sure we're accurate in every way. I really appreciate that and your attention to all the details and how you communicate so well with us and keep us informed. And we will miss you, but wish you the best in this next step. But thank you. This fund is an exciting, visionary kind of fund where we're able to look forward and, it's catching the attention of other parts of the state as well. People are beginning to see, especially in Cache Valley, which is rapidly growing, the importance of preserving forest. So thank you for all your work.
I put an exclamation point on that.
Thank you.
May I say, Diana, we don't get very many compliments for our government. The compliments I get about her are just off the chart good. So thank you, Diana.
You mentioned the team and we don't do any of this without a great real estate staff, including Diana. I've got great staff across the board, tremendous support. These numbers are close connection with the comptroller's office, a great group down there that supports us and works very closely with my staff. So I feel very fortunate to have so many great people around me, including a great commission. I want to stop there so I can get through the business without getting emotional.
If it's okay, I'll move on to item 10A.
Yes, please.
This is a 23.05 acre parcel in Saratoga Springs, and I'm going to zoom past this really quickly just so you can get some context of its location. You can see we're just west of Utah Lake with I-15 on the other side of the lake. This is a future proposed alignment for SR 85, which is technically not a new corridor, but in this neck of the woods, they call it Foothill Boulevard. And I don't know, I'm going to from Terry slowly to where that is. And you can see how it eventually connects up into the phases of map that have been constructed with the Banger Crossing and the SR 73 corridor preservation work we've done. And there is tremendous growth in this area. Just as another point of reference, we have done a little bit of corridor preservation work. You can see a proposed alignment here, and these parcels up to the north that we have already acquired through the corridor preservation fund. So this is not the first, but it's among the first for this this future corridor expansion. I'm going to go into the zoomed in parcel just to get a better sense of how we would impact it. The owner has development plans in place with the city. They have they plan to proceed. So we do have imminent development. There are two significant developments already going in the area, so we know the growth is real and happening here. We have appraised this parcel for $3,110,000, which works out to about $3.10 per square foot. And again, it will be used for the future expansion of SR 85. The advisory council has given a favorable recommendation to obligate funds for this parcel, and our request would be to move forward with an acquisition at the appraised value of $3,110,000.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make the motion to approve this.
Thank you.
And I'd second.
A motion and second, and item number 10A, some other questions, comments, concerns? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item 10-A is approved. Thank you.
Thank you, commissioners. Item 10B involves a parcel in Washington County on State Route 9. There's a moment, let's scroll. It's owned by an entity known as Red Investments 1 LP. It is approximately 3 acres in size. And just to give, again, a little more context, we have done a little bit of corridor preservation work in this area. You can see these parcels in these different areas that have been acquired. And of course, you're just to the west of the recently opened Southern Parkway that ends here in Perkin, and we've got I-15 off to the west, and now the Southern Parkway connecting Perkin down to the St. George area. So growth is expected. There's already quite a bit of development happening in and around this area. The Southern Parkway is contributing quite a bit to that growth. This property owner is already working with the developer, and they have some plans in place. So we again are trying to be what we consider imminent development. The larger parcel is about 15 acres, and we seek about 9 acres. You can see it looks like it's a little bit outside of the footprint. I understand there's a lot of active transportation components to this project, so that that extra width will help facilitate, trail and other mobility options, as part of this larger project. The parcel has appraised for $701,900, or about $5.40 per square foot. And again, will be used for the future widening of this section of State Route 9. Advisory Council has given a favorable recommendation here. We would request a motion to proceed at the appraised value.
So just question, Charles, it's just the light blue section of the whole rectangle?
This is showing the entire 15-acre parcel, and then the wider section is what we propose to acquire, about 3 acres.
I move to approve this.
Thank you.
Second.
It's a motion and a second. Any other questions, concerns, comments? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item 10 being.
And then item 10C, we're going to move back up north into Hooper, Utah. We are seeking to acquire from the estates of George and Rico Inouye a home and some agricultural property. Here's a close-up view. Zoomed out so you can see where we are in Weber County. This is for the next phase of the West Davis corridor. This is the only alignment under consideration. It's environmental has been approved, but it's not yet funded. And you can see here the quantity of the corridor we acquired. I'll point out this little guy over here. It's a maintenance shed. It's not part of the corridor, but it does show up as UDOT property, so it shows up in our inventories. We just highlight that. I saw that and I was like, what are we doing over there? If you zoom in, you can see that they're working very hard to keep the roads safe and maintained. The Inouye's both recently passed away, and their family is hoping to sell this parcel to UDOT and help close out their estate. The property has been appraised for $1,513,000 total, comprised of $445,000 for the home and the 1 acre that it sits on, along with an additional $168,000 for the vacant agricultural property, roughly 8,000 an acre. Again, this will be the next phase of West Davis corridor. We'll put this parcel to use, and we would request approval to proceed with the appraised value.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Thank you. Any other questions? You would ask now to hold your peace forever. Your honor is going to be released soon. So, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item 10C is approved. Thank you.
If I may, Commissioner, I wouldn't have this opportunity if I hadn't spent so much time at such a wonderful organization with so many wonderful people. It is an exciting opportunity. It is, I am very sad to be leaving such a wonderful place. And there are so many people that I owe a great debt of gratitude to. And I just want to thank y'all for your support. My staff, Terry, Lisa, Carlos, Carmen. It is, I told the governor when he called me that I'm ill. He said, I wonder if my executive director is going to be upset with me. And I said, I hope he is. But, I work in a place where you're not just allowed to chase a dream, but you're encouraged and supported too. And it's part of what makes this such a wonderful place. So thank you to all of you for making this such a great place to be and for giving me another great opportunity for myself.
Please your prestige, your discipline, dedication, and your staff.
Here. No more late Friday afternoon calls from Commissioner Kramer.
Look who's here again.
I know. Have to follow that. Round of applause. Stephanie Tomlin, outgoing UDOT Central Planning, incoming UDOT Trails and Transit. Yeah, so I'm going to talk. This is brief, for the commissioners that weren't here yesterday, I will talk about, or I'll show you where you can find this information. Because we did have a very lengthy meeting or discussion yesterday about the prioritization process, but that is kind of what we have up here right now. To be clear, it's for information only, because we went through the prioritization models in depth yesterday, with then the expectation that we'll come back in August, because there's no July meeting. We'll come back in August, and that's when we'll be asking for approval of the prioritization process documentation. So just a quick reminder that the prioritization process, this is a decision, these are decision support tools for you as the commission to use that to help you make decisions about which capacity projects to fund using the Transportation Investment Fund and the Transit Transportation Investment Fund. So these models, over the last year and a half, we've been going through a very comprehensive update, looking at things like streamlining our process, evaluating the data to make sure that it's the best data available, and then looking and reevaluating the relative ranking methodology that proved cumbersome, and kind of how we get projects onto the list and then potentially add ones in the future. So we reassessed that as well. Do I have control of this? Or, okay, cool. So if you go on here and click this to the link that's in the fact sheet, this is the UDOT project prioritization website. And again, just for the commissioners that weren't here yesterday, if you go to the tab labeled Commission and scroll down and go to 2023 and then June, this is a link to the presentation that we went through. So this is if you have questions about any of the models or the measures that are in the models, and you want kind of maybe a more visual representation than what you'll find in the process documentation, this presentation you can go through and get some information. So I just wanted to show you that that's where you can find that information. And then if you go to the tab labeled models, I did show this to commissioners that were here yesterday. Here, if you click on either the click here link or on this little icon, this will take you to, this is the documentation that we will be asking for your approval on in August. So again, to be clear, it's the TIF, so the highway and TIF active programs, and then for TTIF, it's transit and first and last mile. So it outlines all of the measures. It also outlines the weighting recommendations that we have, that we proposed yesterday and talked through and discussed. So I would just encourage, if there's any questions, comments about this, feel free to reach out to us between now and the next meeting. So we're happy to kind of look into things more. And then last but not least, we heard from yesterday as well, our partners, MPO partners. They were a critical component, as well as other entities within UDOT and other partners, but the MPOs were on the call yesterday to speak about their experience being involved in that. So we really appreciate their support through this updating process. So again, it's information only. So right now, so any questions or comments?
I just appreciated the very thorough presentation yesterday. So if anybody wants to go and learn more, they can look at yesterday's meeting information for that.
We're just gonna snack at 12 midnight.
No, thank you.
Any questions? No. Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you. Item number 12 is administrative rules review, and we have two people that are going to be presenting that. First is Nick Elbert, and then he will follow by Peter Hudson.
Hi, Lee Elder. Do the legislative affairs and policy and rules at UDOT. Pleased to be with you, Mr. Chair and commissioners. It's always fun to be out and about in our great state, and Price has just some cool land and things to check out. Enjoyed the tour yesterday. It was awesome. Monty and his group do a great job. So we have 3 rules to to look at. The first two are department rules, and statute requires us to give the commission opportunity to take a look at that, to review it, before Carlos ultimately approves that, and then we send it on to the Office of Administrative Rules when there's a 30-day comment period and an opportunity for the public to comment on that. And then the last one on the agenda is a commission rule. So you guys have rulemaking authority as well. Peter will present that one to you. And typically what we do with those is we have it on the agenda one time so you can check it out and just give it some thoughts, and then we'll bring it back at the following meeting for an opportunity to approve it, or if there's changes in the meantime. So, the first one, let's see, I don't know. Get back to, oh, taking control here. It's good. There we go. All right, so this first one, this is kind of the more weightier of the rules. The changes really, I wouldn't classify them as too weighty, but it's our debarment of contractors for work on department projects. So a little weightier topic here, but the changes here were precipitated by a 5-year review. We have to review our rules at least every 5 years. We'll put them in review much more frequently. And as we reviewed this, we noticed that it's been more than 14 years since it's really been significantly looked at. So you'll see that's one reason why there's so many changes here. We just kind of rewrote some things for clarifications, weren't trying to make any significant changes. We also noticed that we needed to conform with the rule writing manual, and also, you remember several months ago, we brought changes to our administrative procedures process, and this rule kind of feeds into that process. If there is going to be a debarment, there's a administrative procedures.
Would you just explain the word debarment, please?
Okay, so
I would think that's something we do to Charles.
I feel like, yeah, we should have Charles come on. Charles is last meeting potentially with us here, and so maybe but that is just essentially saying, hey, you can't bid on projects.
Okay.
If the contractors or if
Thank you.
not the other.
They were not this one.
But anyway, so some clarifications there. Also, we have a suspension piece. So there's a suspension. Generally, the suspension is more temporary while we're looking at whether a person should be debarred. And so there was just some clarifications that needed to be made there to make sure they're separate and distinct. Also, we didn't have a definition section or a purpose section, and we added those. We had some definitions that kind of scattered throughout the rule, and so it's important to get those up there in a section that makes it easy for the readers. Also, there were some federal debarment laws and regulations that we just needed to be in harmony with. FHWA has kind of a similar kind of rule with debarments. We adopted some additional purposes or reasons for debarment that they had on their list, and you can maybe I could just go down and I'll show you the section there. So the old section 1, it's now 3. That's what all this new language is. It's just adding some additional reasons for debarment that we're also at the federal level at HWA. So but that's about it for that. We'll be happy to answer questions if you have them.
So this does give us some, if we have price fixing among contractors, it gives us some abilities.
Yeah, and
I saw that there
see
as well.
price fixing, I would imagine that's, illegal. And so anytime there's a crime involved, debarment is definitely an option, so, that's a great point there. Hopefully we don't have, that going on, but if it was, then we have an option. Anything else on that one?
That was easy.
Yeah, this one's a little less weighty. It's our clean fuel vehicle decal program. You know, clean fuel vehicles travel in our HOV or hot lane that we have on I-15. And there was this particular change is precipitated by a bill, HB 458, Clean Fuel Vehicle Decal Amendments, which was run by Representative Malloy. I think he had some constituents come to him and say, hey, we want to use the clean fuel opportunity here on the HOV lane, but we don't want the sticker on our beautiful bumper. Can we, forego that? Can we still be in the program? And so he ran the bill and said the decal is not required to be put on the bumper. So we just changed our rule to accommodate that change. You'll see, actually, there's a number of changes. Let's see. Hold on. We have the new one. We actually did a repeal and replace because there were so many technical little changes. So it's just easier format wise to do that. But the substantive changes, you don't have to put the sticker on the bumper. So, any questions with that one? No, I'll just turn the time over to Peter for the R940 rule, which is again a commission no longer looking for not looking for approval yet. We'll wait till the next meeting.
Build it.
Thank you.
Good morning. I think I'm just about the last item. Leif said I had to take under 20 minutes. No.
We have under 10.
I'm just kidding. I'm Peter Asplund, Deputy Director of Policy and Legislative Affairs. And during the big omnibus bill for transportation from Senator Harper, one change it made in Senate Bill 185 was related to the State Infrastructure Bank Fund, the SIB. As you know, the State Infrastructure Bank is within UDOT, and it acts as a revolving loan fund for public infrastructure projects from local governments. And while it's run with UDOT, prioritization and approval of the projects come from the commission. And so it also requires an administrative rule. So that's where we have this administrative rule 940-3. So I say 185 made one change to the State Infrastructure Bank in that it said that it had to create a new account within the bank fund that would, for greenfield projects, and that's greenfield means undeveloped land other than agriculture or things like that. And so it made this great new account, and then no funding came through. So it passed in the bill, but no appropriation was made. So we needed to need you to approve eventually this rule that updates that, saying that there's a new account for greenfield projects, and also makes it clear that we won't approve them until there's money to do them. But maybe most important of all, that I'm most proud of, is we changed the title from 16 words to 4 words. So, we also cleaned up and clarified a lot of the definitions and things like that. But in the meantime, till you have a chance to vote on it, if you have any questions, let me or Leif know. And we'll see if money comes from these projects.
How was the 1 mile fixed?
What's that?
The 1 mile has to be within a mile of existing.
Yeah, and I am let's see, go back to the actual language of the bill. The bill says that it says no less than 1 mile from an existing municipal or county water supply, water distribution facility, or wastewater facility. And
So does that mean it could be 2 miles?
that's how I read it, and I wondered why it didn't say that are located at least, because it's saying no less than 1 mile. So I don't know, I might have to phone a friend to know what projects, I mean, I know it's this water supply, water distribution facility and wastewater facility.
Well, my concerns are is this could end up being the pack animal that takes brings in all the sewer water and everything else for everybody else to benefit. And we're doing it from the infrastructure bank. Maybe that's okay, but I thought that was interesting.
Well, no, I think that's a valid concern, and as commissioners, you have some say on these projects, and I think we'll have to find more if it gets funded. What we can report back to you,
Right,
the legislative people that are pushing this, and see what specific project they're thinking of.
So is it so I'm looking at item D, 3.22, item D. It's so fun to read.
Project.
Laws, right? Includes a transportation project or a publicly owned infrastructure project that might not be transportation related at all. Is that right?
Well, so
Is that, I mean, is that the new piece? Is that the new piece to
that
this?
was already there.
It's kind of was already there, and this clarifies it, because those definitions that were in the infrastructure bank code, that was already there. So this was just clarifying what a project is. So, yeah.
Does it matter?
I would like a little more clarification on this.
Okay, and next time we bring it back for the vote, let's see what we can find out too, and
thank you.
Give some more information. Any other questions? I think my 20 minutes are up. I judge from the bells.
That was great.
Thank you.
A subtle way of.
Item number 13 is informational items and that's the committee report from the commission. So I'm going to start my left, Commissioner Menlo.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm guessing that everyone is aware that we had another truck accident in Garden City coming through the center of town. And this one was especially alarming because it's estimated that the truck came through at 60 to 62 miles per hour. It came through the intersection, went into the housing area behind, went through a garage, and finally hit a residence, a townhome, and stopped there. The driver was okay, and the passenger, though, critical condition and transported. But the frightening thing was, just a few days before this happened, that entire center of town, that area was completely full of parked vehicles. And there was a small train that little children ride on that was part of a celebration being held in that part of town, celebrating the grand opening of a local facility. If this has just become a very emotional issue in the community, I spent a fair amount of time down there with first responders and our mayor and talking with people in the community. And it's an issue that I want to raise attention about because this is the 8th truck wreck in that area. And I have to give incredible compliments to Region 1 Director Rob White. He immediately was engaged and involved, as well as the governor's office. And Rob has immediately installed signs and put a UDOT team at the top of the area to do random brake checks, so that the truck drivers would be aware that they have to stop there. But there are multiple issues happening, and we have commitments from Rob to continue this discussion. But I would be remiss in representing this area if I didn't tell you, this is a very serious issue. And unless we're able to deal with it, we're eventually going to lose lives. And this became very apparent to me and our city leadership as we were there. We can't just talk about it. We have to have implementation that works. And Rob is very committed to that. The governor's office is. We've been in touch with legislative leadership. They are as well. And so anything that people can suggest or support, have ideas about that would help us in this arena, this is very important to us. And I apologize for my emotion, but I have to tell you, this has been, I go there regularly to that part of town, and people are asking me why I park away, why I, it's just really alarming to us in terms of what could happen. So I wanted to raise awareness about that and ask for your support and help in the future. Rob is handling things very well right now, but I assume sometime in the future there may be additional needs and that we'll need to come back and help Region 1 in this area. So thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. I will just say that the Wasatch Front Regional Council did adopt their regional transportation plan. It was in late May. It was unanimous, so that was incredible to achieve that. And I guess the next step is to integrate that with the state's Unified Transportation Plan for September. So,
Thank you.
yeah.
Mountain has gone through some extra meetings, I've been there just along with Rob and Eric to try to clarify for who has which role, where the funds come. There was some confusion over the years with some elected officials, and so it's been really good that they've all come to some extra meetings, no less extra meetings, but I think to clarify, which I think will help them long range with their plans and knowing what we do to support and what is their responsibility. So I think, Rob, that's been really good to see the new leadership of Mountain. So we need to re-clarify some of these things. So I just wanted to report on that, because some good things are happening down there.
Thank you.
So, and I too won't park in the Burger Barn parking lot either. I understand what you're saying.
Thank you.
I do want to again reiterate our thanks to Terry and to Charles and everyone else. Thank you for the service and the example and the motivation you give the rest of us. We will miss you. And in the military, they always say, when somebody's lost, the next person up. So we've really got a strong bench, and we keep building that. And I spend a lot of time talking to people around the country in my commercial estate business, and believe me, we have really got something special here. I tell you, there's places you don't want to live because of the way that the transportation places are working out. I appreciate that. Natalie has done a lot of work at the Kent Gardner Institute about the new Utah. We're bracing for just an amazing growth and changes. And if you're in my world, if you're going to invest anywhere in the world, you want to invest in America. If you're investing in America, you want to invest in Utah. So I've got a new partner moved in from California and Suncrest. It's 7 houses on the block. All 7 people there came in from California last year. So for better or for worse, they know what they're seeing when they get here. So really appreciate that, and the amazing staff work. And I mentioned Diana and Charles. Charles was at this, kind of his funeral, and said, "Be sure you turn your lights on the way to the cemetery today." That's all the kind of things said both about Terry and Charles. But thank you from the bottom of our hearts. The adventures continue.
I have no committee report, but I want to echo what you just said without having to say all the words and cheers and stuff.
Thank you.
I have nothing else.
I did have opportunity to attend my community impact board meeting on the first week of June. We had a trimester Sunday. We funded 3 road projects, 1 community center in Cushera, 1 fire station in Marysville, 1 sewer cleanup truck in Ashley Valley, 2 Conway water system throughout the states, town remodeling in Limington, and parking structure in St. George, Utah. other places. And also I had opportunity to attend Dixie Transportation Executive Council. They're working hard as a part of the Dixie NPO, which I want to now, and with several people that the Region 4 attend. They considered planning grant fund designations, rail service initiative update from Salt Lake City to St. George, believe it or not, we did a rail, and the long-term infrastructure replacement plan. So those are my reports. Everybody's busy, every corner of the state, so thank you for. Commission, just remind you that the next meeting will be on August 17th to 18th. So we call your preparation for that day. Any other meetings, minutes, anything, updates based on Terry, then region directors, deputy directors, anyone from the public, anyone from the online community? Being none, I'm gonna ask for the last item of the agenda, which is motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Debatable. Thank you all. Have a wonderful weekend.
Yeah.
Success.
Good to see you, Natalie.
Yeah, good to see you. Hey.
Yes.